Hello, hello. Welcome back to the fourth and final video about Presto, and this week's Manic Pixar Dream Girl series and earned happy endings. So let's finish up this piece of brilliance and figure out why it's beyond the obvious, why it's pretty cool. So what have we got? We've got our characters and we have them. They've just had this very elaborate series of gags that kind of turned into a whole war, and now we have them chasing after each other. And so it's time to resolve this. So Presto, in the process of going after Alec in this kind of elaborate chase, gets tied up in the curtain rope backstage. And he reaches through the hats to try and grab Alec, but instead he accidentally releases the stick that was holding the rope. It's best not to think too much about the construction of everything back here. So this immediately results in Presto rapidly ascending to the very top of the theater, where he dangles only by the rope. And this also opens up the curtains so that the audience can see all this going on. So remember, the chase went on behind the curtain, but now everything is on display. And this is a very key moment, or this is a key moment that kind of flies by, but is very important in terms of structure, because when the curtains open and the audience sees how high Presto is, someone screams. So in this world where this guy's been electrocuted and beat up and just a variety of different things, no one's ever feared for his life. They've actually applauded, thinking it a trick. Now, however, they are scared because they see him so high up. It is just like when the Sunny figurines react to Knick Knack being so high, or the snowman and Knick Knack being so high. It establishes what is dangerous and what is not. And in this world, heights are dangerous. And so with that scream, the stakes are raised. And so a fall from this height will not be forgiving, and it's now important that we get out of this situation to actually save Presto, because we don't want to turn this from a comedy into a tragedy. That would make for a very interesting statement on Pixar's part. So this also becomes a turning point for Alec, because once Presto gets all tied up, Alec thinks he's in the clear, and he thinks that the game is over, that he has won. And so he yells woohoo and starts to skip off stage as Presto dangles there. So he doesn't share the feelings of the audience when he sees him dangle. He thinks it is out. They see Presto in danger. And this has to change, though, because remember, Alec is our sympathetic protagonist, and we don't want to think he will do the wrong thing in a legitimately dangerous situation. So we need a change in the situation, and that comes from the rope breaking right before Alec leaves the stage. And so when the rope breaks, Presto appropriately starts to fall. And he starts to fall with this kind of prop moon and stars up there with him to kind of add to the situation. They will fall with him and add to the danger, because he can be crushed by these things. And so with all this kind of happening, it gives Alec a moment to stop his joyful little skip off stage, and he can now engage with this moment. And so now that we know he hasn't abandoned Presto, we can go back to Presto and his fall. We just needed to make sure that while we understand that Alec still cares about winning, that he's not as heartless to abandon Presto when he might die. So while this moment is technically scary, the filmmakers do try to make it funny by continuing to add threats to Presto as he falls. This actually is a moment where they take advantage of the unlikelihood of all of this and the fictional nature of the build behind the stage, because everything, they keep adding things out of the blue that are funny that we know wouldn't really exist, but it's like they really are torturing this guy. And the funniest of those is a piano, which is very cliched, but deliberately cliched. A piano falling is kind of typical in the cartoon world. And again, it appears for no reason except to break and fall after Presto. So that, again, not only was this prop moon and stars might fall on top of him, now a piano might fall on top of him. And it's kind of the end of the homages to traditional cartoons. And so with the stakes higher than ever, now we turn back to Alec, because it's his job to save Presto. And kind of the funny moment of this is that he's not like a heroic superhero rabbit when he gets called to action. He's kind of just annoyed by it all. And his ears flop down, though, because he has accepted the job, even if he's not happy about it. And we find out that this, even with all this crazy action going on, what's needed to save Presto is relatively simple. So all Alec ends up doing is he sticks his hand in the purple hat, positions the black hat underneath Presto, and holds the purple hat like a rocket launcher so that Presto can kind of burst through instead of hitting the ground. And so Alec's face doesn't change at all during all of this, pointing to the fact that takes no effort, and he doesn't care, and he's still mad at Presto. So it keeps all the, it maintains the relationship even as we solve the action. Also notice they're using the hats to solve this problem. The hats remain key throughout all of this. And so, in a final laugh at Presto's expense, Presto doesn't actually realize he's been saved until the very end, when he's kind of pirouetted like a ballerina in front of the entire audience. And yet, even with this kind of silliness, the actor sees a standing ovation. And Presto jumps in joy both at the applause and the fact that he's still alive. And then Alec takes this as a sign that nothing has changed in Presto's regard for him and starts to storm off the stage. Presto, though, further differentiates itself from the moment in Knick-Knack. So Presto the movie, differentiates itself from Knick-Knack and Lifted, because this is, instead of the end of the short, a moment of change. So, we have now noticed that the audience responds well to this act of Presto and Alec working together. And we then see Presto, the magician's face, soften when he sees Alec walk off. So suddenly he becomes very human. And he whistles to get Alec's attention, and then uses the little magic he possesses himself, because we find out at the last minute that he actually does possess a little bit of magic, to reproduce the carrot he destroyed before. And so in the final use of the hats, Alec pops up in joy and eats the carrot, finally fulfilling his goal from the start of the film. So both goals have actually been fulfilled. Presto had a successful show, and Alec got the carrot. And then they take their bows together, and the film ends on a shot backstage of a new advertisement, a new poster advertising both of them. So think about that. In the end, Presto is about the forming of a partnership. They change from adversaries to different beings who realize they can work together to put on a good show. And so Presto began the film taking advantage of and ignoring his rabbit, and by the end has learned that he's actually a great partner. And the fact that this film kind of has a lesson behind working together and to a greater goal, differentiates it from Knick-Knack and Lifted. In those films, it's all about the cleverness of the gag. In Presto, the gags are still clever. They don't lose that, but they don't take the place of relatable characters who actually develop a relationship rooted in emotional realism. So Knick-Knack and Lifted had relatively one-dimensional characters, so that the misfortunes they experience due to the comedy don't seem unjust. Yeah. But Presto strives for something more complex than that. Presto is a character who deserves abuse in the beginning, but changes over time and learns from his abuse. Meanwhile, Alex's hijinks are all motivated by fear or betrayal, so the gags are emotionally motivated as opposed to being just tricks on an unsuspecting victim. There's a story-related purpose to them, and that is what makes them different. If comedies are Pixar's refuge for unlikable characters, Presto proves that these unlikable characters, don't have to be simple unlikable characters. And so in the end, like, Presto kind of exemplifies why we study comedies in particular in the first place. Pixar's comedies all participate and provide their own twist on a long-standing tradition of animation. In the end, however, these artists are not the 9 old men from the Disney studio or the Chuck Jones of Warner Brothers. They are a different studio with artists who have different tastes, talents, and goals, and they use films like Knick-Knack to master the skills from traditional animation, and then use Lifted and Presto to figure out what they can do differently with such a tradition. And these differences lie mostly in the development of characters, their relationships, and viewer empathy. Once again, characters, their relationships, viewer empathy. Comedy adds joy and a lighthearted air to the Pixar shorts, but these final 3 elements will become the primary goals of Pixar shorts with heart and the short sequences within the features that Pixar is best known for. So these things will stay consistent regardless of genre or type of short, and therefore kind of become key parts of the Pixar brand. And so that's actually my conclusion on comedy. There's not really much more to say. Presto is a great final note because it kind of proves anything I could explain further. So now that we've done comedies and we've kind of learned what's been done in the past and what Pixar artists changed, let's go in full Pixar, which is the shorts with heart. So these are a little more sentimental. They have messages behind them. They might try to make you cry. These are my favorites. And so I look forward to sharing them with you. The first one we're going to start with is a short called Boundin'. Boundin' is a little akin to Red's Dream and even a little bit to Tintoy in that it does have faults, but we can learn from those faults, and it has some great steps forward as well. So Boundin' went before The Incredibles, and I encourage you to go watch it and enjoy, and then come back to me next week and we'll talk about it. But thank you as always for sticking with me as we've now finished our second chapter, and I hope you come back for the third. All right, have a great week, everybody.